3 years ago, Liberty Media took over Formula One. In those years, they've introduced a raft of changes. I'll run through some of them with you in just a moment. Formula One has been around since 1950. In fact, the first race took place here at Silverstone in 1950. Since then, the sport has developed. It's now a true global sport. This year, 2020, there'll be 22 races, 11 of them outside of Europe, which has always been the home of Formula One. It's an expensive sport to be a part of. For instance, a mid-tier team probably has to spend in excess of $120 million a year to take part. A top team, 2, 3, 4 times that. But 40 years ago, this man took over as CEO of Formula One after gaining the commercial rights. This is Bernie Ecclestone, the F1 Supremo. He's built this sport into a world sport. It has a huge global audience of eager fans willing to consume the sport in any way they can. But going back 3 years ago, this company, Liberty Media, stepped in and purchased F1 for $4.68 billion US. That's a fair whack of money, isn't it? Mostly debt funded. The new CEO is this man, Chase Carey, with one of the most magnificent mustaches ever seen. I often see him at the track, and almost always he's got a coffee in his hand. But the thing with Liberty is they see this as an entertainment company, not as a sporting organisation. And with that in mind, they've brought about a whole raft of changes. So let's run through some of those. The first change was they got rid of this logo, which had been around for many years, and updated it with this one. It's a much simpler logo, and it can be used alongside other brand logos with less of a clash. At about the same time, they approached this fellow. He's Brian Tyler. Now, you may know him as an American musician and producer. He's known for his work on the soundtracks for numerous films, TV shows, and even video games. He is a big name in American music, and he was commissioned to come up with a new fanfare. And this is what he came up with. Initially, people weren't too sure about it, but now that it's been around for some time, I think it's an integral part of the sport. Number 2, social media. In the past, it was severely limited for teams and almost entirely banned for drivers and media. Now, you take someone like a Lewis Hamilton. He's got 13.9 million followers when I took this screenshot. He has an opportunity to engage with those people and get them excited about him, yes, but more so about the sport. All the drivers and teams have had their access to social media significantly broadened. Now, in the past, it wouldn't be uncommon for Bernie to send a letter or a note or a legal letter even to drivers saying, cut that out when they posted on social media. So over the last few years, it's been fantastic in terms of you being able to get closer to drivers. Who would have thought that Lando Norris could live stream from the paddock and the pit lane, yes, during testing back in Abu Dhabi end of last year, and you could see what was going on from his viewpoint, from his phone. Now that's an amazing way for you to get closer to the people that you love in this sport. So hats off to them for allowing people to use social media to their advantage. And certainly with my Instagram following, I don't think I would have been able to do this back in the old days prior to Liberty Media. Number 3, the opening up of new shows. And in particular, I'll talk about F1 Live on Twitter. On Twitter, that's right, 2 million views per show. It's hosted by Will Buxton. It's absolutely free. It's done after every race. And I've seen this live, and Will is magnificent. He just walks down and talks for, I think it's 30 minutes, with no real notes. And to get new eyeballs who aren't already following the F1 account through Twitter is a marvellous ploy. And that's why I think that Liberty has seen the greater picture here, in so much as there are so many different platforms that they can work hard, and this being one of them with Will Buxton, that were never available to anyone in the past. Number 4, access to the paddock. Often we were seeing this sort of thing towards the end of the Bernie era, And admittedly, this is a rainy day in China, and it's actually 2 years ago anyway. But now there's this real buzz in the paddock, and Liberty are happier to grant teams and sponsors requests for passes, because that's the only way you can get here. You can't just roll up and buy a ticket to get into the paddock. But certainly sponsors and teams are getting more access, and it's the same people granting these permissions as it was under the Bernie era. However, they've just been given new freedoms. And when you see the real buzz that happens in somewhere like the Abu Dhabi paddock after dark on race day, it's lovely. Admittedly, it's a little bit tougher for us because we're trying to take photographs of drivers and people in the sport, and there's a lot more people hunting for autographs and selfies. But that's a byproduct of it. But it tends to get more people excited about the sport. And if you ever get the chance to get into the paddock, you will absolutely love it, because it's all of the things that you want to see right in front of you. Number 5, Netflix Drive to Survive. I think this has been an absolute outstanding success. It gives you the opportunity to be up close to the people that you've wanted to hear about. They're all mic'd up, the drivers. You get the inside story. This man, Sean Bratches, who is the Director of Commercial Operations, needs a huge pat on the back for getting this up and running. It has been truly a masterpiece of television. And I know that there has been some comment from perhaps TV networks that they may have been initially unhappy because of the fact that they pay huge rights and Netflix gets to come in here for nothing. I believe, I could be wrong. But when you think about it, say episode 1 of season 1 of Drive to Survive went to air nearly a year after it was recorded at the Melbourne Grand Prix. So really, I think they're two different audiences. You've got TV, which gets across the action instantly, live, or certainly no more than a day or so after. And then you get something like this, which goes into far more detail, introduces you to the characters in F1, but it's done in a drama way well after the actual event. It certainly made a star of Gunther Steiner. And anyone who saw the first episode of last year's television series would have had a real love of the man, I think, because he speaks the truth. He's a funny guy, a little bit of swearing in the show that sort of made him look like a bit of a bloke. And I think that really worked well for Haas. So full marks to them for getting Drive to Survive to air. And I think it's probably done a lot of things in terms of adding more bums on seats at tracks, and certainly driven people to watch the races on television. And a lot of the comments I get on my Instagram page when I put up a story about Drive to Survive are, yes, I wasn't interested prior, but that show got me interested. And the new series should be coming out just prior to the start of the 2020 season, and I can only think that everybody will be so excited to watch something like the German race, where we had all that drama with Mercedes paying big money to sponsor the event and then not even getting a driver onto the podium. At number 6, Formula One is working hard to get celebrities into the track. They've got a huge marketing team that are selling F1 as a brand. More celebrities are coming in. There are people like David Beckham, big names coming to the sport. They're also doing licensing deals with the likes of A Bathing Ape, which is a huge fashion brand, admittedly aimed at a younger audience that perhaps F1 is appealing to at the moment, but that's what they need. They need people in that younger age bracket, that 18 to 34 age bracket, which have been hard to find. And certainly that's what I'm finding with my audience on YouTube and both on Instagram, predominantly males 18 to 34. And that's something that advertisers are very keen to get a look at. At number 7, the Paddock Club. It's been given a revamp. Now, admittedly, it's high-end packages, and if you want to go and have the best seats in the house and you want to be above the garages, the Paddock Club is ideal. But you need these big corporates to come in here, take tickets at crazy money. Sometimes they're in the order of over $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for a three-day package. But yes, you need that. And then you've got F1 experiences, which gives people the opportunity to drive the track on the back of one of these buses, or to do a hot lap with a driver, sometimes even an F1 driver. The likes of Carlos and Lando and other ex-drivers drive you around the track if you get a package with F1 experiences. So to my mind, it's great to get people closer to the action and open up these new opportunities. At number 8, they've introduced new tracks. Holland, Zandvoort. Now, that race, as you probably know, had over 1 million people apply for tickets, and there are only 100,000 odd available. That's a 10-to-1 ratio. Boy, there's not too many sports that get that sort of mass involvement. So full marks to them, and of course the other new race is Vietnam. And that's exciting to bring these new races on board because it keeps people interested. And certainly for us, it's a marvellous thing to go to a new track because all the photographers start off on exactly the same level. None of us have ever photographed it before. Number 9, the F1 app and the website. Here's an opportunity for consumers like you and me to be able to get video after the race, great interviews, content that I think people want and are craving for that in the past just wasn't about. Liberty have worked out ways that they can get it to you quickly and for pretty low cost, if not for nothing. So hats off for the F1 app and the fact that all this video is available to you. And then the final one, number 10, it's my only gripe, a change that I was disappointed in, the departure of the grid girls. I thought they were so much fun, glamorous, glitzy, colourful, and instead we get the grid kids. Great for the kids and it looks nice, but really I think it's a completely different category because we don't have the ladies holding up these banners with the different drivers' numbers and names on them, and you can't have the youngsters do it because that's technically deemed as work and you can't have them doing work at the track. So unfortunately we miss out on that. But I love the fact that you get the local culture here in Malaysia, the Australians with the Rolex hats, Austria with the lovely sun setting here and the local customs, and the red of the Canadian grid girls. But we still do get a form of grid girls. In Monaco we get grid girls and grid boys in the Tag Heuer outfits, and the colour of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders in Austin, Texas. So that's a number of changes that Liberty has brought about in their short time at the helm of the sport. And whilst they're still not, I'm sure, entirely happy with what it's done with the financial side of things, I think they're working on making things better and things are heading in the right direction. Remember to like and subscribe for future videos so you don't miss out, and click the bell for notifications. Your comments are always appreciated and read. You can get my prints and digital images from prostarpics.com. My blogs and podcasts, you'll find them at kimellman.com, and pics live from the track and during the off-season at Instagram at kimellman. Thanks for watching and stay passionate.